Now is our time to be the dream, being the best that we can be. We are the ones who set the scene, choose our thoughts wisely. It isn't the time to turn and fight. Now is the dawn that follows night. We are the children of the light. The sun is rising.
The dawning of an age, ages last 2,500 years. So really, it's not unreasonable to expect something as long as 300 or 400 years, just the dawning bit.
These little apes that we are down from the trees, but we're not walking upright yet. But we're on our way. You know? And being an activist in these times is a bit hair-raising. The way the system's set up to protect the status quo. It's about dealing with the conversation that generates these situations.
See, this is the third talk here where people have been talking about loving the police.
You could offer an alternative, or say they're trying to make X number of money doing that. Well, you could make something similar to that doing this. What about that? And that isn't killing people. Yeah. We've got a responsibility, by being aware of some of these things, to offer alternatives and solutions to people and ideas that they can do. And then it brings it a bit more personal. It's not an objective issue anymore. It's a personal thing whereby they can now relate to this other person who has a different way of looking at it.
Showering them with love, actually. Just standing there and saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. Because what do you do with that?
I don't agree with the war from this end, but the guys, I know some of the guys are out there, so what I want to be able to do is make sure they're as safe as possible. So the work I do, it ensures their safety.
You have to really learn an ability to not just talk, but listen as well, as you say, and let people voice their opinions.
You can only offer a thought. You offer a thought to somebody and they can either accept it or they can't. If they're ready to accept it, then they hear it. If they're not, they won't.
It's very difficult for a policeman stood on the front line. We've seen the films, the videos, the G20 or what happened. You know, they are very violent these days. There's no two ways around it. Somebody mentioned earlier on about the good old policeman. He was the policeman, the bobby, the white shirt and a hat. He'd speak to you. And as soon as he's gone, he's replaced by the guy with the riot shield, the full kit. Different policemen altogether.
The sensible thing to do then is that we need to be able to change it in a minute as well. We should still have that human friendly relationship whenever we can, but we should also be able to change at the moment, and we've got to decide what we change into. They've already practiced it, they've decided what they're going to change into. I don't think we've actually decided what we should be changing into when we're in that confrontational situation where really we shouldn't just become their puppets.
Start listening rather than treat yourselves and people like you as the enemy. You mentioned it as well, and I've heard it all this weekend, where people have started dialogue and conversation with the police. And as I said, I feel now, having come across the other side and just listened to everybody, the big thing is, for me, it's been listening. And the more I've listened, the more it's opened up everything, all the possibilities are out there. And the thing that amazes me is the people I met, you people here, from all walks of life, and the people I've met at all the other festivals. And the path that's led me down is absolutely amazing. I'm just grateful to being here and being part of this discussion room.
You know, when you meet people, everybody that I speak to, even if it feels insignificant at the time, or everybody I've interacted with or has interacted with me, they kind of touch you in a really small way. You know, you might just have listened and that might have been enough. You might have said one really small thing and you might not have known that it was important, but you know, years down the line, they might remember that thing you said. A lot of people don't know what to do, and they kind of have a feeling of despair, and they actually don't think they can change anything.
Have you met the direct action crew? Have you been to tracks? Have you taken on the blades? Have you bought the T20? Have you been to Rostock? Then
get from industrial sites or whatever panels to make greenhouses, to do like tropical food growing, and make it really like, wow, we can really live the lives that we want to live, eating our bananas and still be completely natural.
You've been on the road for 12 years and then And then I went into a house for a little while, and that's been a nightmare.
It is the end of the world as we know it. I think that is true. We're seeing that. Crying out loud. The world as we know it changes every time I get a new mobile phone and can't work out how to use it. You know, there's technology's evolving so fast, society's evolving so fast, people are changing so fast. All the stories about Moses and they're right there in the Quran as well as they are in the Old Testament. If we're in our places, reaching out as opposed to shutting off, I think we will be able to influence sufficient groundswell of desire to recreate the rules in which we all engage with each other.
3,500 a day, which will be a 5,000 person festival, is enough aluminium to make a solid statue of a woman or a man, but I'd rather a woman. They come out of the mould better.
Right. Hay bale henge. Instead of stones, we're using hay because it's temporary.
So I'm just talking about the quantity of energy that's in there.
Okay.
So that again is a solar panel.
Yep.
But that's for producing solar hot water, where that will be producing something like probably 15 watts.
Share the love, brother. We've got to share the love.
All they're doing is make it happen. So anything that's right in the Bible, instead of it coming true, they're making it come true.
I mean, I don't want to make it too much only about carbon as an idea, you know, like it's an important concept, but it's only one aspect of what needs to happen.
But I suppose, I think the way of transition is that thing of co-creation.
We need to use the last remaining resources to best effect.
This area is the free dome.
Yeah.
So anyone can come along, and it's totally free.
If you want to come and play an instrument, if you want to come and shout, if you want to come and sing, if you want to tell a poem, if you want to do anything you want to do, musically or performance-wise, you can do it. Yeah. That's it.
A plant in the carrot family again, and it has small edible tubers around there. Back to my tent where I've got a whole load of seaweed drying, which I gathered in Pembrokeshire yesterday.
Foraging, food, wild food.
Okay.
On the hedgerows today, I think mainly.
I mean, although it's not the best wild plant, you can eat this raw or cooked, by the way. Nettles has, according to one source, 333 milligrams of vitamin C.
They are using deception because the magistrates' courts are a trading name of a company called the Ministry of Justice. Nothing can exist in the legal world without legal personality, a piece of paper to say it exists. The legal person, on the other hand, is a piece of paper whose name happens to be John James Harris. It was my given name when I couldn't express a choice if I wanted that name or not. None of us could. It's a fictional legal entity created by the government via the birth certificate. So when you realise that it is just a piece of paper, this is when the fun starts. But the reflection of this is what's going on inside you as a man or a woman right now and how we treat each other. Because you're like a seed. A seed gets planted in the ground, doesn't have to be told what to be, and it becomes what it's going to be without any help from anybody.
Shiny, happy people, bleak from the at least, buy their t-shirt from the at least tonight, not compete with Aussies, monkey children, how small we have become, cock monsters, down the mad rabbit hole. Who would have thought it's almost too small to believe I'm down here talking. Ocean is the notion, it's something into, no word to the night, no talk in the fight, one ocean, one eye, the infinite inside is one, the life of possibility, one insightful sensibility, space without the black hole, time without the rollings, the is as the is in all its wholeness, over the top, full moon, in love with the whole damn box, advertising how we manipulate, you know, it's just horrible, you know, we've got to stop, there's so many revolutions needed, we have to stop it all. Ding-a-ling, jingle-istic, ding-a-ling, jingle-istic, advertising, no sir, no way, nobody ever falls for that, advertising, like the whole world wants that perfect up one, bubble burst, like the show you can't rehearse for, close up before the notice, in the meantime, advertising. Okay, so this meter here is registering energy fields around the body. If I start telling you what it is, the thing is that just because you've got a word for it, really that could take away the magic. And, you know, we talk about all these wonderful energies that are around the place. And here you can quite simply demonstrate it. So very simply, a Stirling engine then, 1816. Simply the air inside this chamber, when you heat it, if you just put any kind of flame here, so this could be running on petrol, gas, wood, coal, bonfire, solar, old clothes, you could just burn anything on there. and when the air in here is hot, what it does is it pushes the piston because the air expands. It doesn't compare with a steam engine, which is only about 2%.
Really?
Yeah, and also an ordinary petrol engine is about 36% at best, whereas these are 40% efficient. That's about the same as a diesel engine. 1896. So why don't we use these? Well, you could run them on anything. You could run them off wood chippings.
So there is a lot of problems, as we know, in the world, and we would all like the world to be a different place. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen overnight, and we need to do a lot of things. Someone was talking to me recently about ascension and actually leaving and going somewhere else, but unfortunately, it's like doing the washing up. If you've cooked, you have to clear up your mess before you leave. So, to do it, we need to do it temporarily, in the plane that we live in now, which is exactly what I'm trying to do. Why I'm doing it, I couldn't tell you. And this is what a community is about. It's about communication. It's about talking to each other and listening. We were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
If the local mayor and the local community agree to it, who else needs? Yeah, why does central government need to be involved in something the local community wants to have? Yeah.
We should license ourselves, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It should be down to, if we want to do this event, we go to the local community and we ask the community if we can do this event. Yeah. Is it a yes or a no from the community? And this doctor wrote a letter of support making the point that why the hell should less than 1% of the population be allowed to affect more than 99% of the population wants to
like ripples in a pond.
Tyranny of the minority.
That figure sitting in a circle of trust, isn't it? Yeah. Where you actually trust one another to, you're not going to be judged, you're just going to say what you feel, which is utterly powerful.
That freedom, that moment of chaos, which is what we've been talking about here. When a child's growing, just before they go through a growth spurt, they'll have a tantrum. Their nervous system will just completely break down. They'll yell and scream and climb on the floor.
The paradigm that is the masses, or is being given to the masses, is so far away from the direction we need to be going to survive.
And when they were given the order, they pulled down the visors and they just got brutal. These are the people that we were hanging out with and having felt like we were kind of having a human relationship with. How can that disconnect happen?
You're in a problem, you've got a problem. Subconsciously they know that, and they've found their solution for it, and they're quite happy.
Wasting everybody's time. No operation support unit vehicles burning lots of fuel.
No common land anymore. All common land is owned by someone.
I was reading something the other day, which was Washington DC, London and the Vatican are all separate states. So the Vatican runs the religion, London runs the commerce, and Washington's the war base.
Square mile.
It's a key shift, and here we stand, kind of like the wobbling on a seesaw at the top of this mountain. Whereas actually, a lot of what we need to do is really about unlocking what's already there, and a lot of the skills and the insights and the tools that we need are already around us. Rebuilding local food economy, making a certain amount of materials used in construction locally sourced.
Disciplinary procedures. Now I've suffered under these because I'm a bit of a guinea pig. I'm not going to give you anything unless I've actually gone through it myself.
We're all part of one living entity, and it's a conscious entity. It has a collective consciousness, a shared consciousness, and it's actually our delusion that somehow we're separate from it or individual within it.
Your soul chooses what memories it needs to release to make its progress for your DNA to upgrade itself. Spontaneously release those memories, and they could be of this lifetime or of many other lifetimes.
So local councils can't do anything because they say, well, we can only do what national government tells us to do. All these targets, we're so busy meeting targets, we can't really innovate.
If you have a core group, one of the things that happens, they become in control and in power, and it becomes very hard to penetrate.
I didn't come to anything like this for at least 10-15 years.
I'd say it is really, really strengthening and vital that we do all get together and that we have a system where we have power with each other and not power over each other. I say to those children, you are our inspiration. You know this, you're your closest pace to having been born with a natural sense of being able to discharge whatever it is that's going on for you.
Very, very important. The word statue comes from the word status. One of the biggest problems this world suffers with. That's where the deception lies, because you don't know you're agreeing. If you're actually paying for the undermining of your own status. The slave trade never died out. Never ever died out. You've been all sold down the river, you don't even know it's happened. Because when you were born, there was an unlimited bond created in your name.
We're trying to carve out a future within nature and within community. It's like starting a new family really. But within these lands, it feels very English and British.
Actually embodied that this time when I was giving the workshops. For the first time, I actually felt like, well, yeah, this is what I'm offering, and I don't actually mind how it's received anymore.
I just came out of this talk with Ian Grain, and he was talking about the pharmaceutical corporations and the involvement of the governments in population control, and it was just really shocking to have all this information downloaded, and I just came to realize that how important it is to have these kind of festivals, and I'm so grateful for the organizers to make it possible to have the communities come together.
I did go off site for a little while and I went naked swimming.
Of course, once we've educated ourselves, then we're actually in a great position to educate others. Let us consider the possibility that whatever occurs after that day is reliant on our attitude to what's occurring right now. Do you know which profession there is in the US that has the shortest life expectancy? Doctors, yes. They believe bullshit that the pharmaceutical companies tell them. And they've had an organisation that's been in place since December the 5th, 1776, which is called Phi Beta Kappa. And I can pretty much guarantee you that if you Google almost any major player in the US or in the transnational US-based ruling elite, you will find that they are either members of Skull and Bones or they are Phi Beta Kappa. We are the most surveilled state in the world. There is greater governmental power in the UK than ever existed in Soviet Russia. But here in the UK, people still believe it. Yeah, people still believe, they still think that the media are representative of their best interests.
Because slaves were classed as things. Now you're getting an indication of what you really are.
Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, this is what happens when you talk without notes. You have to crave the indulgence of your listeners and hope that they're, as all over the place as you are. But by Sunday at the festival, if you're not, where have you been for the last few days?
Most of the people that we're talking about here are not the American elite, they're a transnational elite who actually claim that the New Age community was the establishment of the New Age, the global New Age community was accelerated deliberately based on research by Stanford Research Institute, which is effectively the research institute of the CIA and the National Security Agency in the US. And effectively what they were saying was that those people who are i.e. their natural enemies, should be encouraged to pursue a spiritual path and not worry themselves about
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it on the day. I love to see the nice people. I love to see them come.
Yeah.
I like to see them go and say bye-bye, but I don't like to see them go really. It's nice to be on a field and not have the old Bill fucking us and telling us to fuck off.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Nicely marked out, nicely marshalled, well-handled event. We've had nothing but compliments from the powers that be.
You can't even, there are shelves in Tesco's and Sainsbury's now dedicated to muesli, It's moved on, it's become mainstream. And I can think of 1,001 other examples from hippie, alternative, progressive, social change which has made its way across.
Well, thank you all for coming.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was really, really cool.